In the vastness of the galaxy, countless advanced civilizations existed, each with its own powerful history. From the towering structures of the Zorathians to the energy-consuming ships of the Vexari, every race believed it ruled the stars. But there was one planet, often ignored and thought of as a mere speck in the universe: Earth. The Galactic Council, a powerful group of representatives from the most influential alien races, had met countless times over the centuries. They discussed matters of trade, defense, and exploration. Yet, Earth was hardly ever mentioned. To them, Earth was just another young, primitive world, struggling to find its place among the stars. Humanity, with its simple technology and ancient ways, was not seen as a threat, or even a challenge. For years, the Council mocked Earth's lack of advancement. They believed the humans were still in the Stone Age compared to their sophisticated technologies. The idea that Earth could hold any real power, ancient or new, was laughable. They didn't even bother to keep an eye on the planet. It was nothing more than a forgotten corner of the galaxy. But something strange was about to happen. One quiet day, an untraceable signal suddenly cut through the vastness of space, reaching the Galactic Council. The signal wasn't like anything they had ever encountered. It was unlike the usual transmissions sent by their ships or communications from far-off colonies. This one was old, ancient even, and it had been sent directly to the heart of the Galactic Council's most secure channels. They immediately began to investigate. At first, the Council believed it was a simple glitch, a malfunctioning satellite, perhaps, or a signal lost from one of their oldest ships. But when they traced the source, their eyes widened in shock. The signal was coming from Earth, a planet they had long dismissed, a planet they thought was too young to be of any importance. "Impossible," muttered High Counselor Zar, a towering figure from the Vexari race. His long, silver tendrils flickered nervously as he examined the data. Earth? Why now? After all this time? The signal was clear, though. Earth's ancient power was reaching out across the stars, and the Council could no longer ignore it. The transmission contained a simple message, a series of coordinates leading deep into space. But the strange part wasn't the message itself, it was the timing. The coordinates pointed to a location far beyond Earth, in the forgotten regions of the galaxy. Regions the Galactic Council had written off as unimportant for centuries. No one had ventured there in eons. "What are they trying to say?" asked Counselor Rix, a sharp-minded alien from the Zorathian race. She had always dismissed Earth as a planet of no significance, but the discovery now filled her with curiosity. "We need to send a fleet to investigate," said Krell, the Council's leader. His face, usually calm and composed, now showed signs of worry. "If this signal is truly from Earth, this could be more important than we thought." At that moment, the Council made a decision they would soon regret. They would send a small fleet to Earth, just to investigate the strange signal. They weren't concerned. After all, they had wiped out the remnants of humanity's primitive technologies years ago. There was no reason to believe Earth could have anything new to offer. The fleet was small, only a few ships, more suited for exploration than for war. The Council didn't expect trouble. They believed that even if Earth did possess some unknown technology, it was far behind anything the galactic races had achieved. But as the fleet approached Earth, something changed. The signals they were receiving grew stronger, more intense. The fleet's lead ship, the Vexar Nova, began to pick up strange readings. Radiation spikes, magnetic shifts, nothing the crew had ever encountered before. "Captain, you need to see this," said Lieutenant Roan, his voice filled with unease. Captain Drela, a seasoned officer of the Zorathian fleet, quickly made her way to the control deck. "What is it?" she asked, her sharp eyes scanning the holographic display in front of her. "This is impossible. The signal, it's coming from underground," Roan explained. "We've tracked it to Earth's surface, and now it seems to be rising." Drela frowned, unsure of what she was hearing. The signal had always been thought to come from Earth's surface, but the way it was rising was unlike anything they had expected. She couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Back at the Galactic Council headquarters, news of the fleet's findings spread quickly. High Counselor Zar was the first to speak. "This makes no sense. Earth was nothing but a primitive world. Now this signal. What is going on?" His voice was filled with confusion and disbelief. And then something even stranger happened. As the fleet neared Earth's orbit, the ancient signal suddenly stopped. Completely. The silence that followed was deafening. "What does this mean?" asked Counselor Rix, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and fascination. "This is only the beginning," Krell said, his voice barely a whisper, as the entire galaxy now held its breath. Something ancient was waking up on Earth, something they had overlooked for centuries. And they would soon learn that humanity was far older and far more powerful than anyone had ever imagined. As the galactic fleet hovered above Earth, a deep sense of unease settled over its commanders. The signal they had received, cryptic and untraceable, had now vanished, leaving only silence in its wake. They were no longer sure of what they were searching for, but they couldn't leave. Something felt wrong. On Earth, life continued as it always had. The humans were blissfully unaware that their ancient past was being uncovered by forces beyond their control. To the rest of the galaxy, Earth was still just a quiet, insignificant planet. At least that's what they thought. Deep within the planet's crust, however, something stirred. Hidden beneath layers of rock and forgotten history, Earth's legacy lay dormant for thousands of years. No one, no alien, no human, could have known the truth that had been buried for so long. In the heart of a secluded military base on Earth, a team of scientists had been working quietly for years. They had been investigating strange readings from Earth's deep core, where ancient metals and unknown structures had been discovered. At first, the readings had seemed like a glitch, a random anomaly in their systems. But over time, the signals grew stronger, more defined, and more deliberate. Dr. Elena Kor, one of Earth's leading researchers, was the first to fully understand what was happening. She had been studying the old texts and artifacts buried beneath the Earth's surface, documents long thought to be myths. Legends told of an empire that once stretched across the stars, an empire that was thought to be nothing more than an ancient human dream. But as Elena pieced together the data, she realized that those myths were true. Earth wasn't just a forgotten planet in the universe. It was the cradle of an ancient and powerful civilization that had once ruled the galaxy. And now, humanity was on the verge of rediscovering its lost power. "Elena, you need to see this," shouted Dr. Marco Vallon, her colleague, as he burst into her lab. His face was pale, his voice shaking with disbelief. Elena followed him to the control room, where they had been analyzing signals from deep beneath the surface. The data now presented an unsettling truth. An ancient human fleet, long believed to be destroyed, was still intact, hidden in a vast underground complex. The fleet wasn't just a relic, it was a sleeping giant, waiting to awaken. "They thought we were weak, Marco," Elena whispered, her eyes wide with realization. "They thought we were just a young, primitive species. But we're not. We never were." As the two scientists continued to investigate, the implications of their findings became clearer. Earth had once been home to an empire that had controlled vast stretches of space. Its power, its technology, had been far ahead of anything the galaxy had ever seen. But something had happened. The empire had disappeared, leaving behind nothing but whispers and forgotten memories. Yet, it wasn't truly gone. The fleet, hidden for millennia, was waiting to be activated, and Earth's legacy was just beginning to resurface. Back in space, the galactic fleet above Earth was growing increasingly nervous. They had received no further signals, and their mission seemed pointless. They were about to leave when an unexpected transmission came through. This time, from Earth itself. The message was short but direct. "We know what you're looking for. Come closer and you'll find what you fear." The message, while simple, sent shockwaves through the fleet. It wasn't a warning they had expected, and it was unlike anything they had ever received. Earth had no reason to send such a message, especially after centuries of silence. The Council had believed that humanity was just a footnote in galactic history, an irrelevant planet in the far corner of the universe. But the message made them reconsider everything. Captain Drela of the Vexor Nova stood on the bridge of her ship, staring at the encrypted message. Her thoughts raced. What had changed? Why had Earth suddenly decided to respond? And what did the cryptic words mean? The message hinted at something far greater than anyone had anticipated. "What do we do, Captain?" asked Lieutenant Roan, his voice filled with uncertainty. Drela's mind was working fast. She knew that if this was some kind of trap, they would have to be careful. But if it wasn't, if Earth truly held something powerful, something ancient, they might be about to uncover a force that would change the galaxy forever. "We move closer," Drela ordered, her voice steady despite the tension that was mounting. "But we stay alert. I want all sensors at full power." The fleet began its slow descent toward Earth, unaware that they were not alone in the galaxy. Unknown to them, deep beneath the planet's surface, humanity's ancient power was beginning to stir. The fleet's arrival was no coincidence. The moment they neared Earth, humanity's lost fleet would be awakened from its long slumber. On Earth, Elena and Marco were tracking the fleet's movements. They knew that the time to act was near. They had discovered the hidden fleet, and now it was up to them to awaken it. But doing so meant revealing humanity's greatest secret to the galaxy, something no one was prepared for. Elena looked at Marco, determination in her eyes. "We've waited for this moment. The galaxy will never be the same again." And with that, the first steps toward unlocking Earth's greatest power had begun. The Vexor Nova and its fleet slowly descended toward Earth's orbit, their hulls gleaming under the light of the distant stars. The mission had started as a simple exploration, but the strange signal from Earth had altered everything. As the ships neared the planet's surface, the eerie silence that had blanketed the galaxy for so long seemed to grow heavier. A sense of something ancient, something forgotten, hung in the air. Captain Drela stood on the bridge of the Vexor Nova, staring out at the blue and green orb below. There was a strange unease in her chest, a feeling that her crew was walking into something far larger than they had prepared for. The message from Earth had shaken her, but she knew that the Council needed answers. "Captain, we've reached the designated coordinates," reported Lieutenant Roan, his voice calm but tense. "No unusual activity detected. However, I'm picking up strange readings from below the surface, consistent with what we saw in the earlier transmissions." Drela turned to him, her expression firm. "Keep monitoring, Lieutenant. I want a full scan of the planet's core. Whatever Earth is hiding, we're going to find it." But as they continued to scan, something unexpected happened. A low hum filled the ship, a deep vibration that seemed to resonate through the metal walls. The Vexor Nova began to shake, slightly at first, and then with more intensity. "Captain, we're detecting energy spikes coming from the planet's surface," Roan shouted, his voice tinged with alarm. "It's coming from beneath the ground. Something massive is awakening." Drela's eyes widened in shock. "What do you mean, massive?" "We're talking about an energy signature unlike anything we've seen in the galaxy before. It's as if something dormant, ancient, is coming online," Roan explained. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. This wasn't just an anomaly. This was something deliberate, something powerful. Meanwhile, far below the surface, in the depths of an abandoned underground complex, Dr. Elena Kor and Dr. Marco Valen were monitoring the same energy surges from their research facility. They had prepared for this moment for years, but now that it was happening, they were filled with a sense of awe and fear. Elena's hands trembled slightly as she stared at the readings on the holographic display. "It's starting, Marco. The fleet, the ancient fleet, It's waking up. Marco's eyes were glued to the screen as well. But we're not ready. The Council. They're coming. They'll want answers. And when they find out what we've awakened, we're not just going to be a footnote in galactic history anymore. We'll be the center of it all. Elena nodded grimly. I know. But there's no turning back now. We've been searching for this power for centuries. And now, the galaxy will know the truth about Earth. The complex trembled again as massive doors that had been sealed for millennia began to open. A low, rumbling sound echoed through the underground chambers as ancient machinery creaked to life. The dormant fleet, once thought to be lost forever, began to stir. Above, the galactic fleet had just received a message. This time not from Earth, but from the very planet itself. It was a short transmission, but it carried an undeniable weight. The past is now the present. We are awake. The message hit the fleet like a thunderclap. The words were simple, yet their implications were staggering. The fleet wasn't dealing with a primitive planet after all. They were dealing with something far older, far more powerful. What does it mean? Asked Lieutenant Roan, his voice filled with dread. It means Earth has been hiding something for millennia. Captain Drela responded, her voice tight. And now that something is about to make itself known. Back on Earth, the underground base was now fully alive with activity. Elena and Marco had just activated a massive terminal, revealing the ancient fleet in all its glory. Giant vessels, sleek and powerful, each built with technology that no other species in the galaxy could comprehend, began to rise from the depths of Earth. Look at them, Marco whispered, his voice full of awe. These ships, they're magnificent. But Elena's expression was serious. Magnificent, yes, but dangerous. We don't know how the fleet will react when it's fully awakened. If it decides to fight, the galaxy won't stand a chance. At that moment, the ground beneath their feet shook again as the first ship emerged, its massive hull covered in ancient markings. The ship's engines hummed with power as it slowly lifted off from the ground. The sight was breathtaking and terrifying. Meanwhile, the galactic fleet above Earth was preparing for the worst. They had already begun to detect massive energy readings rising from the planet. Whatever was happening, they weren't ready for it. The ancient fleet was waking up, and it was clear that Earth's power wasn't a myth. It was very real. Captain, we're being locked onto, Roan said urgently, his fingers flying over the control panel. The energy signatures, they're directing themselves straight at us. We're being targeted. Drela's face went pale. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We need to get out of here. Now. But it was too late. The ancient fleet, now fully active, had already set its sights on the incoming galactic ships. The world that had been written off as insignificant was now proving its dominance in ways the galaxy couldn't understand. The first shot rang out. A burst of energy, powerful enough to shatter the shields of the Vexor Nova, shot up from the surface of Earth, sending shockwaves through space. It was unlike anything the galactic fleet had ever seen. The battle had begun. The shot from Earth's ancient fleet had struck with terrifying precision, slamming into the Vexor Nova with a force that left the ship's hull rattling and sparks flying. The crew was thrown off balance, but Drela quickly regained her composure, slamming her fist onto the command console. Shields at maximum. Evasive maneuvers now, she shouted. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed the fear that gripped her heart. Roan's hands flew across the control panel, adjusting the ship's trajectory. But the Vexor Nova wasn't the only one in danger. The entire galactic fleet had just become the target of a force they didn't understand. Above Earth, chaos unfolded as other ships in the fleet tried to evade the powerful energy blasts now erupting from below. The fleet's advanced sensors were useless against the weapons Earth's ancient fleet was now using. The technology was older, yes, but far more advanced than anything the galactic forces had ever encountered. What is this? Rome gasped, watching as another blast from Earth's surface hit one of the smaller ships in the fleet. The ship was torn apart in an instant, its remains scattered across space like debris. The galactic fleet had underestimated Earth, and now they were paying the price. Meanwhile, deep within the underground base, Alina and Marco were watching the events unfold. Alina's face was illuminated by the holographic display, showing the ongoing battle above Earth. Her heart pounded in her chest, not out of fear, but out of a deep, stirring sense of purpose. "We've awakened the fleet, Marco," Alina whispered, her voice full of awe. "But we never expected it to be this powerful." Marco stood beside her, his face filled with both fear and admiration. "We didn't know what we were truly awakening. But now, the galaxy will see what Earth has been hiding all along." The ancient ships, now fully activated, moved with frightening precision. The massive war vessels, which had remained dormant for thousands of years, were now taking their rightful place as the supreme force in the galaxy. Each ship, with its ancient weapons and technology, was capable of outmatching anything the galactic fleet could throw at them. On the surface, a great roar echoed through the base as the last ship of Earth's ancient fleet began to rise. The massive vessel, a colossal titan that could dwarf even the largest of the galactic ships, slowly lifted into the air. The energy coming from it was overwhelming, unlike anything the world had ever known. "This is it," Alina said, her voice a mix of excitement and fear. "Humanity is no longer a footnote in the galaxy's history. We are the rulers of this universe." Above, the galactic fleet was now in full retreat. The Vexor Nova and its allies had sustained critical damage, their once proud ships now floating in space like broken toys, unable to defend themselves against the relentless firepower from Earth's fleet. "Captain, we need to fall back," Rome said urgently, his face pale. "We're being overwhelmed. We can't win this." Drela's eyes narrowed. "We can't retreat, Lieutenant. Not yet." She looked out at the massive ships that were still firing upon her fleet. "We need to figure out what Earth's fleet wants before we give up. We can't just run and leave them to their power." But Drela knew she was running out of time. The Vexor Nova had already taken more damage than it could sustain. Her ship, along with the others, was hanging on by a thread. The only hope for survival now lay in understanding Earth's fleet and its purpose. Back on Earth, the Lena was preparing to send a message to the galactic fleet. The time for secrecy was over. Humanity had proven that it was no longer a weak, helpless species to be dismissed. They had control now. With a final, determined breath, the Lena activated the communication system. "This is Dr. Elena Core of Earth." Her voice crackled over the frequency. "We are the descendants of the old empire, the true rulers of this galaxy. You've woken us, and now we hold the power." The message echoed through the space between Earth and the fleet, a declaration of humanity's return to the stars. Drela stared at the transmission, her lips pressed together in disbelief. It was more than a simple warning. It was a challenge. "We've made a terrible mistake," she whispered. And then another message came through, one that sent a chill down Drela's spine. "We are the oldest. We are the strongest. And we will never bow to anyone again." The words were clear, unyielding, and final. The Galactic Council had underestimated Earth's power, and now they were paying the price. The ancient fleet, long believed to be nothing more than myth, had come to reclaim its place at the top of the galaxy. The battle wasn't over. In fact, it had only just begun. The battle above Earth raged on, a deadly dance of energy blasts and evading maneuvers. The galactic fleet, now battered and broken, fought desperately to escape the wrath of Earth's ancient fleet. Yet, no matter how fast they moved or how hard they tried to outwit the overwhelming firepower from below, the odds were against them. Captain Drela stood at the helm of the Vexor Nova, her face a picture of determination despite the carnage unfolding before her. Her ship had taken a massive hit to its engines, and one of the outer turrets had already exploded. The once proud flagship of the galactic fleet was on the brink of falling. "Status report," Drela barked. Lieutenant Roan, his face pale and grim, turned to face her. "Shields are failing, Captain. We're losing power across several sectors. If we don't retreat soon, we'll be caught in the crossfire." Drela clenched her fists. She knew Roan was right, but retreat wasn't an option. Not yet. Not when they were so close to understanding what Earth's fleet truly was. "We hold our position," Drela said, her voice cold with determination. "We have to stall them long enough for reinforcements to arrive. We need answers." Roan's expression faltered. "But Captain, Earth has weapons far beyond anything we've seen. Even if we hold our ground, the reinforcements will be useless against them." "I said we hold," Drela repeated. She wasn't about to let the Galactic Council's failure become her own. Meanwhile, on Earth, the underground base was bustling with frantic activity. Elena and Marco had watched as the battle above escalated. The fleet's sudden descent into chaos had been more than expected, but it was no surprise. Earth had always been underestimated. "We need to communicate with them, Marco," Elena said, her voice steady. "The message is clear, but it's not enough. The Galactic Fleet still doesn't understand the full extent of what we control." Marco nodded, but there was a look of concern in his eyes. "The last message we sent was clear. The Galactic Fleet won't stand a chance against our power. But there's still something missing. We haven't fully revealed the scope of our strength." Elena's eyes narrowed as an idea struck her. She quickly walked over to a massive console, and with a few commands, a new holographic display flickered to life. It showed the immense power hidden beneath Earth's crust, an entire network of ancient technology, far larger than anything the Galactic Council had encountered. These weren't just ships. They were weapons of unimaginable power, each ship a symbol of the forgotten empire Earth had once been. "We've held back long enough," Elena said, her voice calm yet laced with an undeniable sense of command. "It's time for the full reveal." With a simple gesture, she activated the ancient communication system once again. "This is Dr. Elena Core of Earth," she spoke, her voice amplified and crisp. "What you are witnessing above your heads is not a mere fleet. It is a power older than your civilization. A power you cannot comprehend. We are not merely survivors of the past. We are the legacy of the galaxy's first empire, and we will not kneel to any force." The message sent ripples of shock through the Galactic Fleet. Drela stood frozen, her eyes wide as the words from Earth reverberated in her mind. She had heard the message before, but now it carried a deeper meaning. They weren't just dealing with a forgotten planet. They were dealing with an empire that had shaped the galaxy long before the Council existed. Drela's hand trembled as she gripped the armrest of her chair. "We've underestimated them, Lieutenant. This is no longer about a simple rebellion. We're facing something much more dangerous." Lieutenant Roan's face was grim. "Captain, we need to reevaluate. Earth's fleet is more powerful than we ever imagined. The reinforcements won't stand a chance." "We won't retreat," Drela said firmly, though doubt began to creep into her mind. "Not until we understand why Earth is doing this. We can't just surrender without knowing what we're up against." Her words, however, seemed hollow as another barrage of energy blasts rocked the Vexor Nova. The shields flickered weakly, barely holding up against the relentless onslaught from Earth's ancient fleet. Back on Earth, Elena and Marco had watched the impact of their message. The reality was setting in. The Galactic Fleet wasn't just retreating. They were on the edge of annihilation, and Earth was not about to let this moment slip away. "They're not retreating yet," Marco said, his voice filled with realization. "They're still trying to fight back." Elena nodded. "Let them. The more they resist, the stronger our message becomes. The galaxy needs to know that we are in charge now, and when the Vexor Nova falls, the rest of the fleet will follow." The battle above Earth continued to unfold, and Earth's fleet showed no signs of slowing down. Ships continued to rise from the surface, each more massive and intimidating than the last. The Galactic Fleet, once confident in its superiority, was being reduced to rubble. Elena stood tall, watching the battle from the command center. This is just the beginning. They thought Earth was just a young, insignificant planet. They thought we were a lost race. But now, they will learn the truth. As the Vexor Nova drifted closer to the point of no return, Drela's voice broke the silence in the cockpit. "This is it," she whispered. "We either find a way to end this, or Earth will claim the stars as its own." And as if to answer her, the ground beneath Earth's surface trembled once more. The ancient fleet, with its unimaginable power, was ready to claim its place at the head of the galaxy. The galaxy's fate was now in the hands of Earth. The battle had reached a critical point. Above Earth, the skies were filled with the wreckage of ships once believed to be invincible. The galactic fleet was in disarray, its once immense strength reduced to a mere shadow of its former self. The Vexor Nova was struggling to hold itself together, its hull riddled with blast marks. Despite the damage, Captain Drela refused to retreat. Not yet. There had to be a way out. "We can't hold out much longer, Captain," Rome said urgently, his eyes scanning the damage reports. "The shields are down. Hull integrity is at critical levels. If we don't pull back now, we're finished." Drela stood motionless, her fingers tightening around the armrest of her chair. She could feel the weight of the decision bearing down on her. This wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. This was a fight for the future of the galaxy. "I can't just give up," Drela muttered under her breath. "Not until we know why they're doing this. Why Earth is unleashing such a devastating power." Rome gave her a solemn look. "We may not have a choice anymore. The rest of the fleet is already retreating. We're isolated. If we don't make a move soon, we'll be destroyed." Drela hesitated, her mind racing. What was their endgame? The message from Earth had been clear. They weren't here for negotiation. They were here to dominate. And yet, Drela couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Why had Earth kept such power hidden for so long? And why reveal it now, when the galaxy was already on the brink of war? Before she could respond, an alarm blared throughout the ship. The communication system flickered, and a familiar voice crackled through the speakers. "This is Dr. Elena Kor of Earth." Her voice echoed across the comms, calm but with an undeniable sense of finality. "We've waited long enough. You've had your chance. Now it's time to accept the reality of the situation." Drela's heart skipped a beat. Elena Kor, the leader of the human resistance, had now become the face of their unstoppable power. The entire galaxy was listening, and Earth's intentions were clearer than ever. "You've underestimated us for the last time," Elena continued. "What you are witnessing is not just a fleet. It is the resurgence of the oldest and most powerful civilization in the galaxy. We do not seek your approval, nor your alliance. We are here to claim our rightful place at the top." The words were sharp, cutting through the tension like a blade. There was no room for negotiation. Earth wasn't seeking to join the galaxy. It was claiming it. In the midst of the chaos, Elena's voice cut through the static again, this time with an even colder edge. "You are at the mercy of the Earth's fleet. You will either bow to us or face total annihilation." Rome stared at Drela, his expression one of disbelief. Is this really happening? Earth's fleet isn't just a threat anymore. They are the galaxy's new rulers. Drela's eyes were wide, her thoughts racing. She had been trained for this, trained to lead her people through every imaginable crisis. But this was different. Earth's sudden power surge had caught everyone off guard. It was as if they had been hiding this force for centuries, waiting for the right moment to strike. And now, the galaxy was on the brink of falling under their control. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the ship as another energy blast hit the Vexor Nova. The entire ship shook violently, throwing Drela and Rowan off their feet. Sparks flew from the control panels, and the lights flickered. "We can't keep taking hits like this," Rowan shouted, scrambling to regain his footing. "We need to fall back." Drela gritted her teeth, her fists clenched. "No, not yet. I won't surrender without understanding what they want." But Elena's next words on the comms made it clear that there was no negotiation left. The choice is simple. You can leave Earth's orbit now and live, or you can stay, and we'll make sure your ships are nothing more than debris. Choose wisely, Galactic Commander. Drela's heart sank. The voice from Earth was not just a threat, it was a promise. The battle had reached its end, and the Galactic Fleet had no more tricks up its sleeve. In the underground base beneath Earth's surface, Elena stood tall, her eyes cold and resolute. Marco was beside her, but he could see the tension in her expression. "The fleet is almost broken, Elena," Marco said, his voice low. "They're retreating. This is it." Elena nodded slowly. "It's not just about winning this battle. It's about sending a message. We're no longer a forgotten planet, a relic of the past. We are the future, and the galaxy will remember that." Above Earth, the Vexor Nova finally made the decision to retreat, turning its damaged hull away from Earth's fleet. The surviving ships of the Galactic Fleet followed suit, breaking off in different directions, their morale shattered. Elena watched the retreating ships from the underground command center, her gaze unwavering. The battle was over, but the war for dominance had only just begun. The galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy was reeling from the shock of Earth's sudden rise to power. Across countless star systems, comms lit up with messages of fear and confusion, as civilizations that once ruled the stars now grappled with the overwhelming might of a world they had dismissed as primitive. On Earth, Elena stood before the vast map of the galaxy, her face a mask of determination. The recent battle had been a victory, but it was only the beginning. The true challenge lay ahead. How would the galaxy respond to Earth's rise? Would they accept the new order, or would they resist, knowing the consequences of defiance? "Earth's power is now known to all," Marco said, stepping up beside Elena. "But we can't keep fighting forever. We need to solidify our rule, gain allies if we can. The galaxy won't lie down and accept defeat so easily." Elena nodded, her gaze never leaving the holographic map. "We've made our move. Now we wait. But the message is clear. Earth is no longer the underdog. We are the masters of the stars." As the Galactic Fleet limped away, retreating to the furthest reaches of known space, the question on everyone's mind was the same. What now? The strength of Earth's fleet had stunned them all, but many wondered if this was truly the end. Some believed that with time, the galaxy would unite against humanity. Others feared that the wrath of Earth had only just begun. Meanwhile, Drela sat alone in the command room of the Vexor Nova, her mind still processing the events that had unfolded. Her once confident fleet was shattered. The power of Earth had been overwhelming, a force they could barely comprehend. For the first time in her military career, Drela found herself uncertain of what to do next. "We can't just go back to the council like this," Rome said quietly, sitting across from her. "The Galactic Fleet has lost its edge. Earth has shown us something we never imagined." Drela's eyes were filled with a mixture of disbelief and resolve. "Earth didn't just beat us. They exposed a truth we've all been ignoring. The power we once believed in, our technology, our military might, it's nothing compared to what they hold. And now we have to figure out how to live with that." Roan shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "What do we do next, Captain?" Drela looked out of the viewport at the stars stretching into the distance. Her fleet was broken, her people demoralized. But even in the face of defeat, she refused to surrender. There had to be a way to turn this around. There had to be a way to challenge Earth, to regain some measure of control. But in her heart, she knew that the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had proven that they were no longer just a fleeting memory of a forgotten world. They were the future. Back on Earth, the first signs of Earth's new empire were beginning to take shape. The Galactic Council, once the dominant force in interstellar politics, now found itself in disarray. No one knew how to deal with the sudden appearance of humanity's power, and many feared that resistance would be futile. Earth's fleet, led by Dr. Elena Kor, had obliterated any opposition in their path, and now the galaxy had no choice but to adapt or perish. The Earth government issued an official declaration across the stars, its words clear and unwavering. The galaxy now belongs to Earth. We have waited long enough. Those who submit will be spared. Those who resist will be crushed. This is the dawn of a new era. As the message spread, the reactions were mixed. Some planetary leaders saw Earth's power and chose to align themselves with the humans, eager to secure their place in the new order. Others, unwilling to bow to Earth's demands, began to form alliances of their own. The galaxy was no longer a unified entity. It was a fractured battleground, with each faction vying for control in the wake of Earth's rise. But for Elena and her people, this was just the beginning. They had proven that the galaxy was not as advanced as they had thought. The ancient power of Earth had been unleashed, and now the question was not if humanity would rule, but how long it would take for every corner of the galaxy to recognize that truth. As Earth's fleet moved to secure its position, Elena stared out at the stars, her mind racing with the possibilities. What had started as a fight for survival had now evolved into a quest for dominion. The people of Earth had not only survived, they had become the rulers of the stars. And as the final remnants of the galactic fleet disappeared into the vastness of space, Elena knew that the galaxy was forever changed. Earth had proven that it was no longer a forgotten, isolated world. It was the heart of the universe. The age of humanity had arrived.